What if the person you trusted most with your life was secretly plotting your death? What if the doctor who smiled at you, who shook your hand, who cared for your parents, was hiding a monstrous secret? This is the chilling story of Harold Shipman, a man known as Dr. Death, the doctor who murdered more patients than any serial killer in modern history, and who did it all in plain sight. Harold Frederick Shipman was born on January 14, 1946, in Nottingham, England. He was the second of four children in a working-class family. His father, Harold Sr., was a lorry driver. His mother, Vera, was strict but deeply adored her son. Shipman was her favorite, and that bond would shape the course of his life in unimaginable ways. But when Harold was still a boy, tragedy struck. His mother developed lung cancer. He watched helplessly as the disease consumed her. Yet there was one thing that gave her comfort: morphine injections. Harold sat by her side, witnessing how a simple injection could silence her screams, ease her suffering, and bring her closer to death. On June 21, 1963, Vera Shipman died when Harold was just 17 years old. Her death shattered him, but it also left him fascinated by the power of medicine and by the control it gave over life and death. This would not be the last time morphine would shape Harold Shipman's world. Despite the trauma of his mother's death, Shipman excelled in school. He was intelligent, athletic, and disciplined. Teachers described him as quiet but determined. In his late teens, Harold met a young woman named Primrose Oxtoby. Unlike Harold, who was sharp-featured and brooding, Primrose was kind, simple, and deeply loyal. The two fell in love quickly, but their romance was accelerated by circumstance. Primrose became pregnant at just 17 years old. In 1966, Harold, then 19, married her. The young couple would go on to have 4 children together. For outsiders, it looked like a love story, a young doctor in training and his devoted wife raising a family. But behind closed doors, Shipman was cold, controlling, and emotionally distant. Primrose endured his moods and arrogance in silence. She stood by him even as his obsession with medicine and his dark secrets began to consume him. Shipman studied medicine at Leeds School of Medicine, graduating in 1970. He quickly began working as a junior doctor before becoming a general practitioner. To his patients, Dr. Shipman seemed like the perfect doctor: calm, confident, and always available. He made house calls, visited the elderly, and treated them with respect. In communities across England, people praised him. He wasn't just a doctor. He was a friend, a confidant, and for many elderly women, almost like family. But behind that mask of professionalism, Shipman carried the memory of his mother's morphine injections. The power of that drug lingered in his mind, and soon he began to experiment with it on his own terms. In the mid-1970s, while working in West Yorkshire, Shipman's dark side began to reveal itself. He developed an addiction to pethidine, a powerful painkiller. He would write false prescriptions, stealing drugs for his personal use. Eventually, his behavior was noticed. In 1975, he was caught forging prescriptions and was forced to attend a drug rehabilitation program. Most doctors would have had their careers destroyed, but Shipman, he was given a second chance. He quietly moved on, found work elsewhere, and continued practicing. What no one realized was that this wasn't just about addiction, it was about control, about playing God. And Shipman wasn't done. By the 1980s and 1990s, Harold Shipman had established himself as a respected GP in Hyde, Greater Manchester. His practice was busy, his patients adored him, and his reputation was flawless. But beneath the surface, he had begun killing. His method was chillingly simple. He would administer lethal doses of diamorphine, medical-grade heroin, to elderly patients. They trusted him. They welcomed him into their homes. They sat with him in his office. And then, they never woke up. The deaths appeared natural. After all, they were elderly. And who would question the kind doctor who signed the death certificates himself? For years, no one suspected him. Families mourned their loved ones, never realizing the truth: that their doctor was systematically murdering them, one by one. Investigators later debated why Shipman killed. Some believed he was reliving the death of his mother, over and over again, reenacting the power he witnessed as a boy. Others thought it was about control, Some even speculated it was arrogance, proving he could kill and never be caught. What we do know is this: Shipman killed with shocking regularity. Patients in perfect health would die suddenly after his visit. Entire families lost mothers, grandmothers, aunts, and sisters to his silent injections. He targeted mainly older women, perhaps because they reminded him of his mother, perhaps because their deaths seemed more natural, or perhaps because no one would question it. Shipman might have continued forever, if not for his greed. In 1998, one of his patients, a wealthy woman named Kathleen Grundy, died suddenly. Shipman signed her death certificate, stating she died of old age. But shortly after, Kathleen's daughter was shocked to discover a new will, a forged will, one that left her mother's entire estate, worth over £350,000, to Dr. Harold Shipman. It was too suspicious to ignore. The daughter contacted the police. Investigators exhumed Kathleen Grundy's body. What they found changed everything. Lethal levels of diamorphine. The mask had finally slipped. Police launched an investigation. At first, they expected perhaps one or two suspicious deaths, but as they dug deeper, a horrifying pattern emerged. Medical records, death certificates, families' testimonies. One by one, they painted a picture of a doctor who was not saving lives, but ending them. On September 7, 1998, Harold Shipman was arrested. His patients' deaths were re-examined, and the evidence was undeniable. In 2000, after a lengthy trial, Shipman was convicted of murdering 15 of his patients. But experts believe the real number was far higher. Some estimates put it at over 250 victims. That made him the most prolific serial killer in modern history. Shipman was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. But even behind bars, he remained cold and arrogant. He never admitted his guilt. He never apologized. He showed no remorse. Prison guards described him as quiet, withdrawn, but calculating. But in January 2004, the story of Dr. Death came to an abrupt end. On the morning of January 13th, the day before his 58th birthday, Harold Shipman was found hanging in his prison cell. He had used bed sheets to take his own life. Some believed it was his final act of control, choosing his own death on his own terms, just as he had chosen death for so many others. For the families of his victims, it was a cruel escape from justice. Shipman never explained why he did what he did. He took those secrets to his grave. What do you think drove Harold Shipman to commit such horrifying acts? Was it grief, power, or pure evil? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story chilling, make sure to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more real-life horror stories that the world should never forget.